Securing the bag. New tonight on Our News, live at 7. The legislation that will help government secure 50% of proceeds of sunken treasure. Final draft. New gender-based violence legislation expected to be tabled in Parliament as early as next week. The Social Services Minister details what's expected in the proposed law. Plus, making steps toward food security as we are learning that consumers will have access to locally grown eggs within a year. The Agriculture Minister speaks. And then in Our News at 7:30, victim blaming in sexual assault cases sparks debate among cabinet ministers. Among them, the National Security Chief, who sounds off on critics. Our News live at 7 starts now. Welcome to Our News Live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles. The second reading and passing of the Antiquities, Monuments and Museum Amendment Bill 2023 happening in the House of Assembly this morning. It makes way for government to claim 50% of sunken treasure proceeds. The Prime Minister leading the debate today, telling Parliament that the bill lies at the heart of our nation. Megan Shepherd gets us started tonight.
Prime Minister Philip Davis noting that our underwater cultural heritage isn't just for the Bahamas, but rather holds significance for the world. He says the amendment to the Antiquities, Monuments and Museum Bill will now require that any recovered artifacts be shared equally between the government and a licensee.
Further, to give the government first preference in selecting its share of the recovered artifacts. Yes. The bill also seeks to amend the regulation section, making power to prescribe the maximum period for which a particular type of license may be granted.
Prime Minister Davis adding this amendment will also provide Bahamians with a fair shake in the industry as well.
We are strengthening our ecology section by bringing in 3 new scientists who will be specially trained for this task. Yes. Our team will go through specialized training in underwater archaeology, scuba diving, and conservation. We are making sure that when it comes to preserving our heritage, we have got the best hands on deck.
And as for what will happen with the government's 50% of all recovered artifacts,
we are excited to announce that we are setting up a conservation lab dedicated to preserving the government's share of recovered artifacts. This is our commitment to safeguarding our treasures.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepherd.
All right, thanks a lot, Megan. And now that the Attorney General's office has completed the final draft of the gender-based violence bill, Social Services Minister Obi Wilchcombe says Bahamians can expect to see the legislation tabled in Parliament as soon as next week.
We're dealing generally with matters pertaining to violence, in particular violence against women. So you'll see a lot in that in the legislation.
Stiffer penalties for domestic violence?
Penalties already exist, but we'll be talking about a number of the mechanism, how we deal with issues, how we respond to issues, the protection of women, children.
As for consultation with various advocacy groups, Wilchcombe says feedback has been positive.
It's a language, making sure that we're achieving the objective. And you must remember the NGOs who've been out here in the forefront are arguing for a very long time about protection. And so they want to make sure that all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and that we're getting where we want to go. I feel very good about it. It's been going on for a while now, you know. And the marital rape, we're going to have a meeting tomorrow with the Baptist Church, and we're continuing that dialogue. But we're going pretty good.
Well, police are tonight on the hunt for an armed robber, they say, who held up a man outside a Stapleton Gardens home. Police telling Our News the victim was parked in front of a friend's home around 11:20 last night when he was approached by a man dressed in dark clothing. That's when police say the suspect pulled out a gun and robbed the victim of his Champagne Toyota Passo with a license plate number AK9619, AK9619. If you have any information, you're asked to call 911, 919, or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. And a recent off-campus attack, including a recent incident that left a student nursing stab wounds, has become cause for concern for top education officials. Education Minister Gladys Hanna-Martin says more has to be done to ensure the safety of students on or off school campuses.
We've put police officers who are specially trained on the campuses. There are many interventions to address issues of anger management, and we've put busing from the campus. This was off campus, so the students apparently walking home or wherever they were walking to. So, we will continue to do our best to resist what this sort of social deterioration that we are seeing in terms of violence all around us.
The Education Minister's comments coming 2 days after police say a student was stabbed in a group altercation on Lightbourne Avenue off Farrington Road. They say someone pulled out a knife during the after-school brawl, and the male student was stabbed about the body. Hanna-Martin says she believes social media is also contributing to violence among young people.
This requires a large effort. This is not a one-dimensional thing of the Ministry of Education, the teachers, the principal. This is something, particularly because it was off campus, this is something that requires all hands on deck, including our parents. And I know raising teenagers is not easy, and they're not particularly sometimes communicative, but we have to do all that we can because a stabbing is a serious incident. And it could have gone in a very different direction. So, all hands on deck on this issue.
And now to consumer news, and this one may certainly help your pockets, as Agriculture Minister Clay Sweeting says he's anticipating there will be mass distribution of locally grown eggs within a year. Sweeting says there are some logistical challenges that may hinder the process, but he says the feed mill, which is part of the Golden Yolk program, will be finished in a few weeks.
We have the renderings already completed for the feed mill. We hope to put that out to tender in a few weeks. That would be a part of the Golden Yolk project as well. We're also about to ensure that we get the houses and all that constructed. That takes up to 4 months to be ordered to get into the country. So all of that is still on stream. It's an exciting project, and we hope that in a few months that we can see some more development there. But the feed mill is already almost completed, which is really state-of-the-art, automated, top of the line.
The initiative was launched when the price of eggs in grocery stores skyrocketed to more than $10 in some instances. Back in March, Sweeting told Tribune Business that government was relocating funds to the $15 million project to make the Bahamas egg sufficient. The Agriculture Minister says the idea is to ensure local stores purchase locally grown eggs.
In order for us to be food secure, it's important that we partner. I mean, this isn't government against private sector. It's a partnership. And the private sector industry, the food suppliers and wholesalers is already committed to working with us to ensure that this is successful, because it's not just about food prices, but it's about eating healthy. It's about food security. It's about stabilizing the price. The price might go down today, but you don't have no stability in regards to that price. But this is just one avenue that we can ensure that we become more food secure within this country.
All right, we've got much more to get to in a moment, but for now, it's time for your first look at temperatures. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is live in the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Kinun. Happy evening, everybody. We had a couple of sprinkles out here on the way to the studios, but it's going to be a quiet night out there. Temperatures very warm, 82 degrees with a few clouds. Your winds are out of the northeast at 6 miles per hour, and your field strike temperature is at 81. Temperatures tonight around the islands: warm 84 in Freeport, 85 in Allenstown, Bimini, 82s in Nichols, San Andros, Great Harbor Key, and in Marsh Harbor. We pick up 80 in Governor's Harbor. Central Bahamas, 84 in Kemps Bay, 81 in Arthurstown, Cat Island, Georgetown, 83, 80 in Deadman's Key, 79 in Coburn Town, San Salvador, and into the southeast Bahamas. More 80s there with 81s in Duncantown, Ragged Island, and in Colonel Hill, Cricket Island. Delectable Bay, Abrams Bay, both of you at 84, 79 in probably the Anchialas. Look like you guys have some showers nearby. Matthew Town in Agua, you are 84 at this hour. Satellite view, we have quite a bit of clearing across the northern islands. Couple of spotty showers to the north across Grand Bahama. That's associated with surface trough. That's right across the eastern portion of Florida. But that moisture down near the southeast Bahamas, that's exited. High pressure will dominate our weather for the next several days, but we're looking at some hot temperatures. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us to look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, we'll introduce you to the team that makes Family Island projects come to life in tonight's Work in Progress segment. But first, Color, Class, and Colonialism, 50 Years and Counting Conference on Grand Bahama is set to get underway. Hear how Bahamian scholars, artists, and thinkers will gather to discuss moving the country into finer nationhood. And then the Prime Minister foreshadowing changes to visas for Ghanaians at the Investment Summit, what it will mean for travelers, coming up when our news returns.
Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do.
Shareholders are very happy.
Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do.
The Prime Minister speaking at the Ghana Caribbean Business Summit this morning, alluding to some big changes, travel changes that is, for those hoping to come to the Bahamas from Ghana. Prime Minister Philip Davis assuring their Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs that changes could come before the end of the dignitary's visit.
Instructions have already been given to ensure that we have the reciprocal visa waiver. I was of the view that that had happened some years ago. It's only brought to my attention again recently, so before you leave, we hope to have it all done.
Bahamian scholars, artists, and thinkers will gather to discuss nationhood and the future of our country during a 3-day event. The Color, Class, and Colonialism 50 Years and Counting Conference will take place in Grand Bahama at the Rand Nature Center on May 17th through 19th. Director of Antiquities, Monuments, and Museums Corporation, Dr. Christopher Curry, will be speaking on the concept and consequences of national identity.
I will be arguing that the nation was a social construct that was created and imagined, to use Anderson's concept, by our founders to be a certain kind of identity that matched or hearkened to an African diasporic identity, one that promoted Black history and certainly promoted Bahamianization. But I am critically looking at this as well as a moment where the idea of a multicultural polyglot community was lost, and that there were persons that were marginalized in this early formulation.
Now, if you're unable to attend in person, you can still participate. You can do it virtually through their website, ccc242.org. Topics include whiteness as other in the construction of Bahamian national identity, decolonizing education, and the Bahamian theological pilgrimage. Dr. Nyambi Hall Campbell Dean, chair of the Bahamas National Reparations Committee, will also be presenting the case for reparations. Executive Vice President and Campus President of UB North, Dr. Ian Strawn, gives us a taste of what she will bring to the talks.
Has the West done what it can and ought to be just to those who were, and there were millions, those who were the victims of the transatlantic slave trade? Interestingly, happening at the very same time, the Caribbean is calling the developed world to look at the role it has played in global warming and to be just to the countries who have contributed the least but are going to suffer the most from climate change. Well, the principles are the same.
All right, in tonight's edition of Work in Progress, our Marlena Leonard sits down with the senior engineer of the Family Islands for the Ministry of Works and Utilities to talk about the team and the work it takes to maintain the country beyond the capital.
The Bahamas is a country with over 700 islands and keys, spanning over 700 miles from north to south, meaning the responsibility of maintaining roads and infrastructure is a tall task. Ministry of Works and Utilities Senior Family Island Engineer David Cox explains how the ministry manages it all.
So we're divided into two sections. We have engineers that deal with Nassau, and we have engineers that deal with the Family Islands, right? So my work is mainly in the Family Islands. So we look after all the roads, we look after the culverts, we look after the drains, the bridges, the docks, the airports, and the buildings.
And the work doesn't stop at roads and utilities. They also help other ministries in the government when it comes time for construction, renovation, or expansion.
For instance, when the Ministry of Education wants to do a new school, they come to the Ministry of Works. We assist them. If Ministry of Health wants to extend their building, that's how we come in, and they come to us and we help them in terms of advice, or preparing documents and doing site supervision.
But of course, the job becomes harder in Family Islands, where the logistics of bringing in the materials needed for the jobs to be done becomes more complicated, sometimes resulting in the materials being brought into the opposite end of the island as the project and having to be trucked down or barged around to the site.
That's one of the main challenges that we have in doing work in the Family Islands, the logistics of getting material into the port. If you think about like North Andros, for example, they have to bring the material. If you're doing work in Central, you have to bring the main material into North Andros, and then truck it all the way, or you put it on a smaller barge and take it to where you need it, so that's usually a big issue, and that's why the cost of doing work in the Family Islands is usually more expensive.
Reporting for Work in Progress for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as Prince Harry, Meghan, and her mother involved in a near-catastrophic car chase involving paparazzi. This is Twitter owner Elon Musk announcing the platform will be purging inactive accounts. And on this day in Bahamian history, the 1874 opening of St. Andrew's Kirk Hall, find out the society group that raised £4,000 for its construction when our news returns.
Welcome to The Rewind, an Our News monthly podcast
where we discuss various different topics in the Bahamian society.
I'm your host, Jasmine Lundy.
I'm your co-host, Janae.
I don't like eggs enough.
I get the vibes.
Right, let's put that on a shirt.
Go by our last name.
Yeah.
This is The Rewind.
This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Prince Harry, Meghan, and her mother were involved in a near-catastrophic car chase involving paparazzi. A spokesperson for the couple claims the incident happened after the Duke and Duchess of Sussex attended an award ceremony in New York on Tuesday. In a statement, their spokesperson said the relentless pursuit lasted for over 2 hours. They added it resulted in multiple near collisions. The New York Police Department confirmed an incident took place and said numerous photographers made their transport challenging.
It's clear that the press, paparazzis, they want to get the right shot, they want to get the right story, but public safety must always be at the forefront. The briefing I received, 2 of our officers could have been injured. New York City is different from a small town somewhere. You shouldn't be speeding anywhere, but this is a densely populated city. And I think all of us, I don't think there's many of us who don't recall how his mom died, and it would be horrific to lose an innocent bystander during a chase like this, and something to have happened to them as well. So I think we have to be extremely responsible. I thought that was a bit reckless and irresponsible.
The European Union's sweeping set of beefed-up cryptocurrency rules got final approval from member states Tuesday, giving the 27-nation bloc a global lead in regulating the freewheeling sector. The European Council adopted the package of rules known as Markets in Crypto Assets, or MiCA, in the final step of the bloc's legislative process. European Parliament lawmakers endorsed the rules in April, and they're expected to start taking effect in phases starting in July 2024. Musk announcing the platform will be purging accounts that have had no activity for several years. The decision has been met by an outcry from those who have lost or who fear losing the thoughts and words of deceased loved ones linked to now inactive accounts. Twitter backed off an attempt to purge inactive accounts in 2019, years before Musk arrived, due to a similar backlash. Other social media sites have found ways to allow people to mourn those they've lost. And now to the region, where New York City Mayor Eric Adams has launched the city's first asylum seeker arrival center as hundreds of Caribbean and other asylum seekers continue to arrive there daily. Officials say many of the asylum seekers come from Cuba, Haiti, and Venezuela. Adams said the Roosevelt Hotel, which has been closed for nearly 3 years, will host the arrival center. He announced the placement of what will be the city's 9th humanitarian emergency response and relief center. Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was May 17th, including the extension of the COVID-19 state of emergency. And then in our news at 7:30, the former DNA leader said to be showing interest in the Free National Movement. Find out the photo op that's led to mounting speculation and what the F&M leader has to say about it. Plus, from tragedy to triumph, hear the story of a Grand Bahama businessman who lost it all, but has turned that loss into hope for the homeless. The story when Our News returns. Welcome back to Our News. Our spotlight turns now on events that shaped the day that was May 17th, including the extension of a state of emergency. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history, in 1874, St. Andrew's Kirk Hall opened in New Providence. Located in downtown Nassau on the corner of Prince Street and Peck Slope, the Kirk Hall was used for Sunday school and for midweek meetings. The building cost £400,000, and the St. Andrew's Ladies Society single-handedly raised the funds. Also around this time, a new road opened to connect Prince's Street and Market Street, which is known as Peck Slope, named after Captain Peck, who was general of the colony at the time. After the Revolutionary War in the United States, some 1,500 banished loyalists landed in the Bahamas to settle on land granted to them by the Crown. Among the loyalists was 29-year-old Michael Malcolm. Malcolm wrote to the St. Andrew's Society encouraging the establishment of a kirk where he and his fellow Scotsmen could meet in keeping with the rites and traditions of the Scottish Church. Then in 2019, police killed 3 men during a shootout at a mansion in the affluent Eastern Road community. Police say the men allegedly opened fire on officers as they executed a search warrant at 2:30 a.m. at a large home on Newgate Road in Blair Estates after they launched a manhunt operation in the area to locate a wanted suspect for a recent homicide. Assistant Superintendent Solomon Cash said at the time that police discovered 22 pounds of marijuana and multiple guns.
As a result of this information, officers executed a search warrant on the property just behind me. Once the officers entered the property, they were confronted by 2 armed suspects who opened fire on the officers.
According to Chief Superintendent Solomon Cash, officers then opened fire on the 2 men, killing both. Officers then proceeded inside the 3-story building where Cash says they were approached by another male.
As they breached the building, they were confronted by a 3rd armed suspect. As a result of that, officers again being in fear of their life, opened fire, which resulted in the 3rd suspect being shot and fatally injured.
And finally, in 2021, then Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis announced his administration was extending the state of emergency put in place during the COVID-19 pandemic for another 3 months. Dr. Minnis read a resolution in the House of Assembly lamenting the low vaccination rate and the 3rd wave of COVID infections sweeping the country at the time. Jasmine Brown was in Parliament that day.
Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis read a resolution in the House of Assembly to extend the state of emergency for another 3 months. However, he expressed hope that the Bahamas will be in a position to abandon the state of emergency before then.
It is our hope that we would not need the 3 months.
The current state of emergency was due to expire on May 23rd. However, on Friday, Governor General Sir Cornelius Smith issued a 4th proclamation declaring a state of emergency.
All right, now to watch that historical recap again, and for all of today's top stories, you can visit ournews.bs. It's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Italia Hong. She's got the latest headlines. Italia, happy belated Mother's Day.
Thank you so much, Ken, and it's good to have you back. How do you feel?
Rested.
Vacation was good.
Well rested.
Okay, wonderful. I'm so happy to see that. It shows.
Yeah.
It shows. Thanks so much,
Still
Ken.
got it a little bit in my eyes, but,
yeah.
But hey. Yeah.
All right, Ken.
Yeah.
Well, a suspect is in custody over recent sex crimes and speculation about a potentially stunning political twist. Here are your latest headlines. A suspect in custody first tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. Following reports of sex crimes in southwest New Providence, a young man now has to answer to police. Plus, joining the opposition, the former leader of the Democratic National Alliance may have interest in the Free National Movement Party. The opposition leader speaks. But first, a possible expansion soon to come within the healthcare sector. This as the health minister says a new hospital will be constructed in New Providence. We have the full story. And are you ready for the road? Bahamas Carnival is only a few days away, and organizers say thousands are expected to hit the streets this weekend. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
At Doctors Hospital, our lamp just got brighter. The Loyalty Advantage membership program now has 3 unique plans to choose from. From Lamp Prepaid with free prime care visits and service line discounts, Lamp Insured with copay waivers and 0 upfront collections at the ER and inpatient services, or our new Lamp Access, a free plan that offers 10% off labs, pharmacy, and imaging. Lamp has a plan for everyone. To sign up, visit our website or give us a call. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now.
Welcome to our news, and thank you for joining us. I'm Italia Hall. And what could possibly turn out to be a stunning political twist? The former leader of the DNA party is reportedly expressing interest in joining the F&M. We'll uncover the latest on what some are calling an unexpected move and the potential implications for both parties in just a moment. But now to this. A 27-year-old man is currently in police custody being questioned about recent sexual assaults that occurred in the Bacardi Road area. The suspect is also on bail for armed robbery and murder. In a press release announcing his capture, police said the Lincoln Boulevard resident was arrested without incident around 2:30 p.m. at his home on Tuesday. Police also say they confiscated the alleged car used to carry out the crimes, along with a loaded pistol. On Monday, police warned residents of Southwest New Providence to be vigilant after a reported increase of sexual assaults in the area. They also revealed they were increasing saturation patrols as they pointed to an increase in sex crimes. Amid what police are calling an increase in sexual assaults, the National Security Minister is pushing back against critics who say too much focus is being placed on victim blaming. In a release, police advise residents to refrain from exercising alone, to ensure their home is properly secured if they live alone, and that delivery drivers should not make deliveries alone. Monroe says the advice is to protect Bahamians.
The issue isn't that you're not holding the criminal responsible, you are holding the criminal responsible. Unlike, for instance, gang violence, where you may have an idea who the gang are, who the members are, who are the disordered people walking around us, unless they have already been convicted, you wouldn't have the same indice. And so all the police are saying is, just like they advise you in holiday time not to leave your bag on the back seat of your car because people will break your window and steal it, it's just advice to help you in securing yourself.
Now, the National Security Minister believes people who commit these kinds of offenses have a disorder. On the other hand, Social Services Minister Obi Wolchcombe says more needs to be done to counter the negativity surrounding the issue.
We're not causing for Bahamians to have a better spirit toward each other. We're not causing people to understand the dangers of what they're engaged and why we're headed in that direction. We're not getting to the young people as we should, because we are expecting them to be educated by everybody else except us. And so we have to find a way to communicate. I think here's a problem at home with communication, and the national system is not communicating, so government must do much more.
While Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville giving an update on the site for the new hospital in New Providence. Upon taking office, the Davis administration also committed to bringing new hospital facilities to both Abaco and Grand Bahama. Darville says the studies have been complete and an announcement will soon come.
The new hospital in Grand Bahama is progressing extremely well. Like I said before, the feasibility study was completed. The geotechnical studies have now been completed, and it is confirmed that the rock is strong enough to handle a multi-story facility. We will be making the announcement of the site in short order. It's just one or two things left, but that is progressing extremely well in Providence.
Well, a few dark clouds around the island today, and some rain may be expected in the coming days. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center live with your first look at weather. Greg,
yeah, thanks,
dark
Dana.
Clouds, what does that mean?
Well, the heating of the day is causing what we're having out there. We actually had a little sprinkle before we got into the studio, and we're probably going to see those because high pressures across us, and that's going to keep us very warm and heat the ground. 80 degrees outside of Studios Row. Right now, a few clouds. The winds out of the east-southeast at 5 miles per hour, light, and they're going to fall off even more. Feels like temperature hanging out near the 81-degree mark. Satellite view, we have that high pressure ridge across the northern islands. Some moisture still hanging out near the southeast Bahamas, but due to the heating of the day, starting to see those pop-up showers and isolated thunderstorms during the afternoon. We will see one or two more tonight, but tomorrow we expect some afternoon showers in the forecast once again. That's your quick check on weather conditions around the island. Stick with us. So look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, the opposition leader speaks following talks that the former DNA leader may be interested in the Free National Movement. We have his comments. But first, the Prime Minister's wife is lending her voice to the cause, following news that legislation has been passed for the gender-based violence bill. And later, an RF Bank and Trust executive is weighing in on the country's economic outlook for 2023 and ways Grand Bahama's economy can make a comeback. That's all coming up when our news returns.
For 38 years, Struckham.
Spouse of the Prime Minister, Anne-Marie Davis, sharing her thoughts this morning on the news that the gender-based violence bill will be tabled shortly, saying she's elated.
We have a women's conference coming up shortly in August. As you know, it's called 13WAM. It's the Women Affairs Ministerial Meeting for the Commonwealth countries. And we would love to know that the gender-based violence bill would have been tabled, discussed, and passed before that ministerial meeting comes about in August. So I'm very happy to see that it's coming forward now.
She adds that while it will be empowering and encouraging when the bill is passed, she's aware that the work will only begin at that point and that educational campaigns will be necessary.
When the gender-based violence bill is passed, which we know it will, we would be so much more excited and energized to do a lot more advocating and educating about what the bill is about and what we can and cannot do, and just education totally. I would like to see a mass education exercise after the gender-based violence bill is passed.
Well, a recent photo that captured former Democratic National Alliance leader Orinthia Komolafe, pictured with Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard, left many questioning whether or not the former DNA leader had intentions on joining the FNM. While Komolafe has made no public announcement about her political intentions, when asked whether or not Komolafe was joining the Free National Movement, the party leader had this to say.
We fully expect that she is joining the party. There were other persons who had contested other seats for other organizations who have expressed interest in joining the party as well as contesting the next general election. Ms. Komolafe herself could speak to the media concerning whether or not she's running or not. To this point, she has just indicated a willingness to work with us.
We've got an inspiring story as we follow the incredible journey of a Grand Bahama businessman who transformed personal tragedy into triumph by dedicating himself to helping the homeless. In a moment, our Berthany McDermott tells us how he overcame adversity and used his resources to make a real difference in the lives of those in need. But first, Tuesday was a big day for the island of Grand Bahama as ground was broken for a new healthcare facility, and it was also announced by Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper that the Grand Bahama International Airport will soon be demolished, making way for a new airport. Well, in our monthly sit-down with Vice President and Group Head of Investment Management at RF Bank and Trust, David Slatter, he spoke about the outlook for the Bahamian economy for 2023. He also says those recently announced projects for Grand Bahama is positive news and shared more ways the Northern Island can rebound economically.
But one of the key ways to improve the economy of Grand Bahama would be to get the tourism sector up and running again. And their number one tourist plant is our Lucaya, and it still remains not sold. And until the airport is repaired and airlift is sufficient to bring people to that resort, it's probably not going to get sold. So solving the issue of the airport will help solve the issue of selling our Lucaya, will also help motivate individuals and companies to invest more in the tourism product in Grand Bahama. So the airport is key for Grand Bahama. But there are positives happening. I mean, little things like, for example, cleaning up parts of the island that where the buildings are knocked down or dilapidated, whether it's from Hurricane Dorian or simply abandonment. Simply cleaning up the space and making it a single clean lot versus buildings that are dilapidated and falling down. That also will inspire individuals to consider investing. Right? I'm not going to invest in a property if the first thing I have to do is spend $100,000 to remove rubble. If the rubble is gone and I've got a clean slate and I can use my imagination how I can turn that into a productive asset, that's also an important important factor for the recovery of Grand Bahama.
All right, and again, that was RF Bank and Trust Vice President and Group Head of Investment Management, David Slatter. There was much more to that interview on the country's economic projections that we'll have more of in our news this week, but to see that interview again, it's available now at ournews.bs. When our news comes back from the break, Bahamas Carnival 2023 is only days away, and organizers say thousands of Bahamians are ready for the road. Do you plan to be a part of the big showdown? Our Joshua Williams has the story.
We have some new private school volleyball champs. And will this baseball prospect be the next Bahamian to reach the majors? We'll find out on Our Sports.
An array of hope. Hear how a Grand Bahamian businessman turned his pain into purpose and is now giving back to those in need. The story when our news returns. This is our news. Welcome back. Thousands are expected to hit the road this weekend as Carnival returns to the island in grand fashion. Our Joshua Williams has the details on what onlookers can expect.
Carnival is back, and with masqueraders and music lovers ready to hit the road this weekend, we spoke to owner of Island Rhythms Mass Band and former president of the Bahamas Carnival Band Owners Association, Dario Torelli, who shares what revelers can expect.
Soca music is very infectious. Carnival is all about soca, and we do have some Bahamian artists going to be on our trucks, giving their version of our music with the soca hype. And of course, the music's designed for the road parade.
And for those spectators that want to follow along,
the route leaves the sports center. It goes to the University Boulevard, the intersection where Clarence ABM building should go, and then we turn left on the University going west, and we end up at the six-legged roundabout, and then we go north to Sanders Beach, and then take a right to Awaki where we end.
Torelli also sharing that Carnival provides unique opportunities for vendors and insists it contributes to the orange economy.
So they're going to go to fish fry, they're going to go have lunch, they're going to swim with the pigs. Some are going to swim with the pigs tomorrow. I spoke to some people from Orlando, and so they're going to spend tons of money. Government's going to make money. Taxi drivers make money. Hotels are going to get a boost. Airbnb is boost. Car rental is boosting.
When originally introduced in 2014, the event was placed under the name Junkanoo Carnival. For years, the event was criticized as a non-Bahamian festival. 9 years later, Torelli says it is simply repackaging our culture in a different artistic format.
A concept, which is art. The costume is artistic design. The music is totally artistic. The way we decorate the truck is artistic. And so we Bahamians give you a Bahamian culture. We just using a brand. Reggae is not our music, but it's big. Soul music from the US is not our music, but it's big here. And so we just using a medium, which is Carnival.
Reporting for our news, I'm Joshua Williams.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
Well, some new private school volleyball champs are crowned, and we take a look at the next Bahamian Major League hopeful. Here's Tej Adderley with a check on sports. Tej?
Hello, Italia. Good evening. I'm Tej Adderley with some sports to get you over the hump. The BISS has a new junior girls volleyball champion. Lyford Key International School's junior girls volleyball team took home their first ever championship on Monday when they defeated Kingsway Academy in straight sets 3-0. The team is coached by Elliot Ilgen Fritz, Aaron Fox, and student coach Alyssa Chang. Lyford's senior boys team is also runner-up to the host school, Aquinas College. Congratulations to all of our new volleyball champions. BJ Murray was selected by the Chicago Cubs with the 454th overall pick in the 2021 Major League Baseball draft out of Florida Atlantic University. Nowadays, it looks like this prospect is moving on up from Boca to the north side of the Chi. BJ Murray has been on a tear recently for the Chicago Cubs AA affiliate, the Tennessee Smokies. The switch-hitting third baseman made some great plays in the World Baseball Classic for Great Britain, and that's carried over to his minor league season. He's been balling in the minors, hitting .250 with 6 home runs and an .890 OPS. Last week he hit home runs from both sides of the plate in the same game. Now, it's not common for players drafted in his spot to make it to the majors, but if Murray can maintain this trajectory, don't be shocked if he finds himself in the Windy City. I love me a good switch hitter. Hopefully we'll get to see BJ in the majors sooner rather than later. That was your look at sports. I'm Tej Adderley.
Still ahead on our news tonight, our Berthany McDermott speaks with a Grand Bahama businessman on how he was able to turn his pain into purpose by assisting other young men in a positive way. That story straight ahead. And we're halfway through the work week, and we saw some dark clouds in the capital today. Greg is back with your extended forecast when our news returns. Stay with us. Welcome back to our news. Cloudy skies around the island today as some rain may be expected. Greg is back with your extended weather forecast. Greg, June 1st is just about, I believe, 2.5 weeks away, the start of the Atlantic hurricane season. So now is the time for residents to prepare, right?
Yes, it's time now to prepare. If you haven't already started, of course, we had some numbers out already by the Colorado State University, and we're expecting to get the update from the National Hurricane Center on their numbers. But it's expected to be above average. We're expecting an El Nino event in the Pacific that spells good for less hurricanes, but you only need one storm. So right now is the time to get all the preparations installed. We will prepare you for the upcoming hurricane season with some tips later on in the week and probably near the end of the month. So stay prepared or stay tuned. Right now, though, we are enjoying some rather warm conditions. High-pressure system is in charge. We have a weak trough just across the Florida area that's going to slide towards the east. It's going to trigger some showers, some isolated thunderstorms across the area, but all in all, it's going to stay rather quiet. But the high pressure is going to continue to keep us rather warm, so we're looking for some 90-degree temperatures. And, of course, those heat indices will be approaching the triple digits, so make sure if you have any plans on the outdoors, you plan accordingly. Future forecast showing quiet conditions across the area tonight through tomorrow. Couple isolated showers with that surface trough moving across Florida and the northwest Bahamas through tomorrow as well, Thursday, and then Friday still more showers in the forecast. But as I said, high pressure will remain the dominant weather feature for us. Boating is very nice out there as well. Southeast south winds at 10 knots. They will fall light and variable at times. Seas running 2 to 3 feet over the ocean. Your high tide was at 7:14 this evening. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, we'll keep the isolated showers in the forecast throughout the remainder of the week, and that should continue into next week. But those temperatures will be approaching the 90-degree mark. Of course, as I said, make sure you prepare accordingly if you plan on doing anything on the outdoors. And once again, June 1st through November 30th is the official start of the hurricane season, so get prepared.
All right, thanks for that reminder, Greg. Well, a local business owner is telling his story tonight about how he's bouncing back after a fire decimated his barbershop last year. Berthany McDermott, who is in Grand Bahama, tells us the local barber is also using it as an avenue to help young homeless men.
Months after a fire destroyed Will's barbershop at the International Bazaar, owner Willard Roberts decided giving up wasn't an option. He built this shack, which was first a car wash after the fire, but then he turned it into a barbershop with a new name, Brothers Keeper Barbershop.
And it's been rough because, a lot of people didn't come to this. Some people feel that this is too low class. But I still have a couple of customers still coming. I'm still living off it.
Roberts uses his shop to help other young men who have fallen on hard times. The space is also a source of shelter for some young men who have no other options. Giovanni Oliver is one of them. He showed us around the abandoned property. He says the help he got from Roberts has allowed him to help others.
For them helping me out, I being able to help others as well, as long as I was able to be under his care. And basically what he doing and what we doing is the same thing. We looking out for one another.
Now this is the building that once housed Willie's barbershop. This was destroyed in a fire last year. He says he's hopeful that where he is now is in the end.
I do this for Grand Bahama to see that God's going to come true for us. But we got to hold faith and believe Him and trust Him. I came here not knowing where to go, but I didn't have the funds to move. But now I'm still holding faith. And I believe something's going to come true because I trust God alone.
Roberts commended Grand Bahama Minister Ginger Moxie, who he says provided employment for some of the young men he assists. To other Grand Bahamian business owners who may find themselves in a similar situation, Roberts says it's important they not give up.
I trust God. I believe He's going to come true. But I just got to hold and wait. And Grand Bahamians got to do the same thing. They got to wait, keep holding on to what they believe. Don't let your dream go. No matter how it look, don't let go in your dream. Stand firm and trust God. And trust our leadership that they do the right thing for us. That's all.
Reporting from Grand Bahama for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, such an inspirational story. Thanks for that, Berthany. Great reporting. And with that, we thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.